Most women think men fall in love when their ego is fed. Compliments, admiration, reassurance, constant availability. And at first, that works. But then, something changes. He relaxes. He stops trying. He assumes. Because an ego that's constantly validated never feels challenged. So really, when you think about it, what actually flips the switch in a man isn't pain. It's the moment his ego realizes it's no longer the center of your world. That realization creates discomfort. And discomfort is where obsession begins. The reason why this works is because a man's ego is designed to seek validation, but it becomes addicted to challenge. When everything comes easily, his brain categorizes you as secured and moves you from the pursuit column to the possession column. But when his ego encounters resistance, when it realizes it hasn't fully won you, can't fully predict you, doesn't fully control your happiness, it shifts back into pursuit mode. And that pursuit, that need to prove himself worthy of someone who isn't automatically impressed, becomes psychologically consuming. Hi, I'm Emma Cross from My Daily Love, and in this video, we'll talk about the 10 ways to strategically challenge a man's ego, not to manipulate him, but to trigger the psychological pursuit that transforms casual interest into genuine obsession. Okay, so before we dive in, I want you to think about the last time someone challenged you. Not insulted you, not put you down, but genuinely challenged you. Made you feel like you had something to prove. Made you think about them long after the conversation ended. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't just hand you their admiration on a silver platter. And men, especially men with strong personalities, are wired to respond to that magnetism in a very specific way. When you become the one person in his life who doesn't automatically fold, who doesn't automatically applaud, who doesn't automatically revolve around him, you become the person he cannot stop thinking about. Let's get into it. The first thing you need to understand is this. Stop being impressed by the things that impress everyone else. Every woman in his orbit probably gasps when he name drops that restaurant. Every person at the party laughs a little too hard at his jokes. His social media followers love every single thing he posts. And then there's you. Not rude, not dismissive. Just genuinely, authentically unbothered by the things designed to create a reaction. When he tells you about his car, his salary, his connections, or his accomplishments in that tone, where he's clearly waiting for your eyes to light up, you give him something different. You give him curiosity. You give him genuine interest in who he actually is rather than what he has. And that does something to him. It makes him want to dig deeper, show you more, prove himself in ways that actually matter. He has never had to work for admiration before. And now suddenly, with you, he realizes admiration has to be earned. That is the first crack in the ego, and it is a beautiful one. Now let me give you the second piece, and this one requires a little bit of discipline on your part. Be genuinely busy when he expects you to be available. Notice I said genuinely. This is not about playing games or manufacturing fake plans to seem mysterious. This is about actually having a life so full and so rich that you are not sitting by the phone waiting for him. Because here is the psychology that most people miss. When a man reaches out and you are always immediately there, always instantly available, always ready to drop whatever you are doing, he files you in a particular mental category, the category of things he does not have to think about. And you do not want to be in that category. You want to be in the category of things he thinks about constantly, things he wonders about, things he is not entirely sure he has locked down. When he texts and you respond 3 hours later because you are actually living your life, something shifts in his brain. He starts wondering what you were doing, who you were with, whether you thought about him at all. That uncertainty is not cruelty. That is chemistry. Now, I need to be honest with you. When you start strategically challenging a man's ego like this, some men will respond by lying about their level of interest and investment to regain control of the dynamic. They'll tell you exactly what you want to hear about how much you intrigue them, how different you are, or how much they're thinking about you. But it's often just sophisticated manipulation designed to get you to drop your guard and return to being easily available and impressed. What happens is that men who are used to easy validation Recognize when someone is intentionally challenging them, and instead of genuinely rising to that challenge, they'll craft lies that make it seem like your strategy is working perfectly. They'll fake the very obsession and pursuit you're trying to create, leading you to believe you've successfully flipped the script when you've actually just triggered their manipulative instincts. That's why we created a deep guide called How to Spot His Lies Before They Hurt You. Because when you can instantly tell when a man is lying to you, you hold all the cards. You can challenge his ego with complete confidence, knowing whether his responses are genuine or just calculated moves to regain control. Imagine the power of being able to see through every manipulation attempt while maintaining your strategic position. So please check the link in the description. This could finally give you the ultimate advantage in any romantic dynamic. Now here is the third move, and this is one of my personal favorites because it requires you to be genuinely confident and genuinely intelligent. Challenge his opinions, respectfully, firmly. When he makes a statement and everyone around him nods along, be the person who says, "Actually, I see it differently, and here is why," not aggressively, not to embarrass him, but because you have your own perspective and you are not afraid to voice it. A man who is used to being agreed with does not know what to do with a woman who pushes back thoughtfully. It disarms him. It intrigues him. It makes him realize that you are not someone he can afford to be lazy with mentally. He has to bring his best thinking when he is around you. And people, all people, are drawn to those who bring out a better version of them. When you challenge him intellectually, you become the most stimulating presence in his life. And he will chase that stimulation. Now we need to talk about something that is uncomfortable, but absolutely essential. Walk away from disrespect immediately and without drama. This is the ego move that most women are afraid to make because it feels risky. But it is actually the most powerful thing you can do. The moment he says something dismissive, something condescending, something that makes you feel small, you do not argue, you do not cry. You do not issue a lengthy explanation of why that was wrong. You simply remove yourself from the situation with complete calm and complete dignity. No scene, no ultimatum, just you leaving. And that silence that follows is deafening to him, because he is used to women who fight for the relationship, who explain, who negotiate, who beg him to understand. You do none of that. You just go. And in that moment, his ego takes a hit it was not prepared for. Because your absence speaks louder than any argument ever could. It tells him that you will not accept less than what you deserve. And suddenly, he is scrambling to be the man who deserves you. Now, let us quickly talk about happiness, because this one is probably the most counterintuitive thing I am going to say today. Be genuinely happy without him. I know. You have been taught that to make a man feel important, he needs to feel necessary. He needs to feel like he is the source of your joy. But here is the truth. Men are not actually attracted to women who need them to be happy. Men are attracted to women whose happiness is a self-sustaining fire that they desperately want to warm themselves by. When he sees that you laugh hard with your friends, that you pursue things that light you up, that you have a whole inner world of joy that exists completely independently of him, he does not feel redundant. He feels pulled toward you. He wants to be a part of that energy. He wants to be led into that world. Your independent happiness does not push him away. It is the very thing that makes him want to stay forever. Now, here is number 6, and this one specifically targets the ego in a way that is deeply strategic. Do not ask, "What are we?" Do not push for labels. I know this goes against every instinct, because when you like someone, when you feel something real, you want to know where you stand. That is completely human and completely understandable. But the moment you chase the definition, you shift the power dynamic entirely. You go from being the person he is working to impress and keep to being the person who is anxious about whether she is enough. And his ego, which was beautifully humbled by your confidence and your independence, suddenly gets its power back. Instead, let your actions do the talking. Continue being your full, extraordinary self. Let him feel the weight of potentially losing something he cannot fully name yet. Let him be the one lying awake wondering where he stands with you. When the label conversation finally happens, and it will happen because he initiated it, and that changes everything about the dynamic that follows. We are halfway through, and I want to pause here and acknowledge something important. I know that some of what I am sharing feels uncomfortable. It might feel like strategy when what you want is genuine love. But here's what I want you to understand. None of these moves work if you are performing them. They only work if they are coming from a real place of self-worth, self-respect, and genuine independence. You cannot fake having a full life. You cannot fake being unbothered. You have to actually do the work of becoming a woman who has all of these things. And when you do, these are not games. These are just the natural behaviors of a woman who knows her value, and that woman is irresistible. Number 7 is something that I believe every woman should do regardless of any relationship, but it has a particular magic when it comes to attraction. Achieve something significant without his help. Set a goal. Pursue it. Accomplish it. And let him watch you do it from a slight distance. When he sees you building something, finishing something, earning something, all without leaning on him, without asking for his input, without needing his approval, he is confronted with a version of you that is entirely self-sufficient, and that is the version of you that becomes imprinted in his mind. Not because men do not want to be helpful, but because there is something profoundly attractive about a partner who is not a project, who is not someone you need to guide or encourage or carry. You are someone running beside him, maybe even ahead of him sometimes, and that activates something primal in him. He wants to catch up to you. He wants to be worthy of you. He works harder. He shows up more fully because you have shown him what excellence looks like, and he wants to be at that level. And then there is the final piece, and I believe this is the one that ties everything together. Do not need his validation to make decisions. This is subtle, but it is enormous. When you are about to make a choice, whether it is about your career, your living situation, your friendships, your style, or your lifestyle, and you consult him not because you want his wisdom, but because you need his permission or his approval, you hand him a piece of your power, and men can feel when they hold that piece. It makes them comfortable in a way that is actually not good for attraction. But when you make decisions from your own internal compass, when you act on what you know to be right for you, when you do not wait for his nod before you move forward, you maintain a wholeness that keeps him slightly off balance, not insecure, not anxious, just always aware that you are someone who does not need to be completed by him. You choose him. And choosing is infinitely more powerful than needing. Now, I want to bring all of this together because individually, each of these pieces is powerful, but together they create something extraordinary. They create a woman who is the living, breathing embodiment of high value, a woman who cannot be taken for granted because she has too much going on to tolerate being taken for granted, a woman who challenges without being unkind, who walks away without being dramatic, who succeeds without needing applause, who is happy without being dependent. And what happens to a man when he encounters this woman? His ego, which is used to being fed and flattered and catered to, meets something it was not prepared for, a woman who does not automatically serve it. And that disruption, that gentle, beautiful disruption, rewires his entire relationship to you. You become a puzzle he wants to solve, a standard he wants to meet, a presence he does not want to live without.